You too.
Oh, yeah! So, welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to BetaHaus.Life. I'm Ben,
I'm Elizabeth.
and we have in the studio with us today,
Nik Marie.
yay, glad to have you here today, Nik.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you.
Now, we met Nik last week at a meetup, and we're going to talk a lot more about meetups in our next episode and like how incredibly awesome meetups are and how we strongly recommend those,
Yes.
like for getting to know people and, you know, just even if you're looking for a business side of it to grow your business, but just to kind of build that team that you need around you just to succeed in general.
Right.
And we love them, and we got to hear an incredibly interesting story. And I was like, I have to share it because it was so wonderful. And it just went so well in our theme of focus and flexibility. It made me honestly think, and I'm teasing everybody here. So just hold on.
I'm going to dangle the carrot.
Yeah, I'm going to dangle it for a little while. It so made me think of an episode of How I Met Your Mother,
Oh.
in which Barney Stinson, you know, who's played by Neil Patrick Harris, thinks that Bob Barker is his dad. And so he researches like crazy The Price is Right. And so when he gets on The Price is Right, like he gets like every price right. And
All those
everything.
little like random grocery bits and stuff.
And
Yeah.
Exactly.
ends
how
up
to
at the
work it.
final like thing and guesses the grand prize showdown to the like dollar, like perfect.
Oh my gosh.
And wins everything. And then he gets the moment to like say, Bob Barker, I think you're my dad. And he just doesn't. He just lets it
He
go.
just
Let's it go. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just made me think of that in my head. Now, not quite to that extreme, but I'm going to let you now take over, Nik, and get to tell your story.
Wayne Brady.
I was like, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Because I think about it, I can't actually get on The Prices right now anymore for at
Oh.
least another year.
Okay.
Nope. Yes. Until this December, I could go be in the audience, but
Right.
I can't actually try to participate
Right.
in any way
Interesting.
because getting on Let's Make a Deal, hosted
Mhm.
by Wayne Brady, and winning kind of locked me into a contract
Really?
with that, so that
That's
you could.
interesting.
Yeah.
I could still go show up in the audience and be there, but for me,
Yeah.
I'm competitive. So I'm like, why would I go be there if I can't get on the show
Yeah.
and win? Like, that's just silly to me. Like, so that's kind of the same outlook that I had with Let's Make a Deal. One of my best girlfriends had reached out to me and said, hey, I'm on the Bridesmaids episode. I would love for you to join. So there's a group of us that are going to drive up on this day. It's, of course, Let's Make a Deal. It's costume.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good Lord. I love my girlfriend, but for whatever reason, she decided to have us be a mariachi band.
Mhm.
In what right mind do you make a bunch of women and then a male bridesmaid, so he's like a bridesman,
Right.
Mhm.
dress up in a bunch of ponchos and sombreros and mustaches and doing all that? We did drink tequila in the car in the parking lot, though, before we went in to do filming. Which was fun. But it was such an overall experience. And so, I mean, it was probably world's longest day that you could imagine. By getting in the car, driving all the way up, the process of you get in, it was like, okay, we got to get in our costumes now. We got to get all prepped, get ready, walk in. The lines are very long, but then there's an entire application process. You've got to fill out your name. You've got to fill out questions about yourself. And then you just stand there and do a ton of waiting.
Yeah.
And you watch everyone else. If you love people watching, even if you don't get on the show, I highly suggest just trying to figure out how to get on a taping because it's the best people watching you could ever imagine. It's fun from your living room on the couch, but actually being there is such a different experience.
Oh,
And
sure.
so they just herd us like cattle and you're watching and you're listening and you're hearing kind of the things. You've got the short girls with the microphones that come around with the clipboards that start yelling at everybody of what to do and where to go. You better listen, and here's how much time you have to answer this, and don't go on, and what talents do you have, and what makes you different, and where are you from, and all of these things. So you're just going in groups, and then they finally put you in another room, and then you sit and wait some more, and you take photos, and you do this, and then they're like, okay, now we're going to practice how do we act excited, and how do we do X, Y, and Z, and how do we go this route. So it's constant. they give you candy all the time too. There's tons
Keep
of
you
candy. It's
amped.
like keeping you amped with all
That's
this
so funny.
sugar constantly, because they literally tell you, they're like, we are watching you all the time. All the time. They're like, cameras are around, people are around. Like, we are keeping an eye. So if you want to get on the show, they tell you that your interview had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Total baloney. Which I learned from doing a lot of research prior, from that side. And then they shuttle you, and then you all get in coach buses, and they shuttle you on over. But they also tell you, like, specifically which buses you're going on. So they're strategically planning the whole time. As much as they say that they're not, and they're just keeping an eye on things, and then they finally get you in the studio. And I think the scariest and the first realization that there was even a possibility to being on this show was they put me in the second row of that, right next to kind of the little oval. And then all of a sudden, people are looking around, and you see their staff chatting, and then they're like, nope, all right, you're going to swap here, and you're going to go here, and you're going to do this. And then so my girlfriend, who was the bride, the two of us got moved to sitting literally the front two seats right next to the oval. And I'm like, I looked at her and we're like, oh,
we're on.
We're probably going to be on the show. Like, this might legitimately happen. But the funniest part, I mean, so going back to prior, though, of understanding, because it was one of those where I'm like, if I'm going to make the trip up there, and if I'm going to look like a jackass in a poncho and a sombrero, I better get something good out of it. Like, there is no, like, oh, I just went. For me, that's not going to fly. So I decided to spend the 2 days prior, I recorded a ton of episodes on demand. And I watched for hours, hours upon hours upon hours. Some of them were repeats, but I watched the types of things that they were looking for. So I also learned a lot of psychology behind the show, as far as what they would prefer to do and why they make the deal. And then when you learn stuff on the back end after you win, going in there. But it was really interesting because the types of people, so they're looking for people under a certain pay grade. They're looking for not many people. Very rarely. It was like 1 in every maybe 10 episodes that they would call someone from a surrounding local area in California. There were a few, but it was few and far between. So they always wanted somebody that was flying out here, was a teacher, was an office manager, was somebody that didn't have a lot of money that would love to make a deal for cash. So understanding kind of that psychology behind it, and talking about where they want people that will be over the top when you get called, but also be like, okay, but I could definitely be persuaded to take them money, or I could be persuaded to do this, or I'm probably not going to win or understand the psychology of how the game is played. So it's kind of an interesting mix to it, and where they get up there and they get all excited, so they just start picking and choosing or following whatever it is. And so we kind of went in. So I sat with our whole group in the car ahead of time, and I was like, here's how this goes. So here's what they're looking for. So we all have to pick where we're from. We all have to pick what type of job we have. We all have to pick X, Y, and Z, and then kind of go in with the same story. So the good part is I actually just almost backdated myself, and I was like, well, I used to run a chiropractic office in a small town called Whitefish Bay in Wisconsin. You know what I mean? So I literally just used my life 6 years ago instead of what it is today, and just saying, here we go, this is who I am. And it worked out really well. And then you just kind of, so I took myself out of that position, and I put myself there, and decided to just be like, yep, but here's what I like, here's what I'm excited about, here's stuff, you know what I mean? It's really great. Here's how we met. So they kind of do another set of the group interviews, and then they just keep watching. So it was one of those where every time something happened on the show, even if we weren't even on yet, but it was like, you just have to show that pure excitement. And even if you look at something and you're like, this is the dumbest thing in the entire world. I actually have, like, when we were testing the fake laugh, can't tell you how many times I fake laughed that day. Like, you get like, your face hurts just because you've got to put like this whole show on. And I tell you, they don't turn the air on in there. I swear to God. Like, I don't remember, like, because I wore a tank top, and then I had this, but it was like I don't even know what material it was, but it was the poncho. Like, I found a vest. I found it at a thrift store. You would think, living in San Diego, that we could find ponchos a lot easier. well, we were filming in June, so
okay.
not really.
It's not poncho weather.
It's really not poncho weather. And I was like, do I drive to Mexico right now to get like a good poncho? I think I found it at Goodwill, if I'm not mistaken. But it was like, right to Encinitas, because you know how Encinitas has all like the amazing little like throwbacks and flashbacks, and got a couple of thrift stores. Like that was perfect. Like, so I went up there and I'm like, there's nothing. I was like, couldn't we have done something else? Like anything else that we could have gone to a Halloween store? Well, at that time too.
Yeah.
There's nothing around to find costumes, I tell you, for such a last minute thing. But so we were just absolutely sweating. But it was, you become basically cattle for the day, and you just have to put on the fake laughs and the excitement and the what is this? But it was really cool. I think the most exciting experience at first was when Wayne Brady first walks out.
Yeah.
The man, he's so shiny. Like in the most beautiful way though. Absolutely, but you're just like, oh, Wayne. Like you just want to stare at him like, okay. Is it weird? But then sitting in the front row, all the cameras. And so of course it's even when you sit here and you look at things and you're just like, is it pointed at me? Is it above me? Is it around me? Is it coming at me? Because like the camera's right here, but it's still panning on the whole studio behind. So I'm like, am I on here the whole time? So do I literally have to be like, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Come later watching the filming, I'm like, there ain't shit of me on here. I'm like, I could have sat there like, woohoo. Yeah. Like not doing much in the front until I actually got on.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. So getting on the show was obviously the first part of it, of just watching, like I said. So it was kind of picking and choosing where we're from. Of course, my girlfriend, God bless her soul, she was so funny. She goes, well, I'll just put that I don't have a job. So, of course, what she writes, though, is something like she's got a world's largest rock on her finger. She writes gold digger. And they come back and find her. And I'm like, oh, honey. They're like, ma'am, this isn't a real occupation. We cannot put that in. I'm like, you're going to get us kicked out before we even get in. I'm like,
you're trying to be funny and you're ruining it.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. So she's like, fine, I'll just put homemaker. Yeah. So it's what, she's a chiropractor. She makes plenty good money on her own. So we were just giggling about that. So they came back, and so we finally get in and we go through the whole process. And then it was, again, herding the cattle into the studio finally. So they kind of pick and choose. So it takes a little bit because the way that they put you in the buses to send you over to the studio, they do it a certain way. And I think they do it a certain way because once you go into the studio, they already need to know where they want you to sit based on your costumes, based on if they think they're going to call you, how your personality's been, because where they're going to pull from each side and where they're going to tell Wayne, like, okay, when you get back, you're looking that way. Yeah. They'll pop up as soon as you say their name type thing. Yeah. So there's definitely, they're handling all of it very well in that aspect. And so we finally go in, and as we're walking, and they're like, okay, your group is going to go right down here. So anybody that's watched it, obviously, there's the round oval. And by the way, that studio is tiny compared to what it looks like.
I'm sure.
It's so I was like, how do y'all fit a car in here? It's the craziest thing. And so we get shuttled down, and there's kind of, it starts to do that little tier out, or like the funnel out. So there's 2 seats, and then there's 4 seats, and then there's so on and so forth. And I get put in the second row, and then they come down. And so we're like, okay, well, now we'll just, again, continue to sit and wait. It's literally, the whole thing is hurry up and wait. Right. Hurry up and wait. That's all you do the entire time. And so we get there, and then all of a sudden they come and they start looking at us, and they start looking at people. And that's when you can feel it. And you're like, something's cooking here. Like, ooh, maybe what I did is right. Like, okay. And then of course in my mind I go, well, if I get on now, I got to like understand the psychology of the game and how it works. Right. So that was the other big part of it. So they ended up moving my good girlfriend and I right to the front row where there's only 2 seats right next to the oval. So we're sitting on the right side of it. Well, if you're looking at the stage or whatever it's called. This is how not TV I am. Yeah. But we're over here on the right of it. So everything is kind of, the main oval is right next to us, sitting and watching. You've got the cameras panning back and forth and going that route. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, here we go. Here's the rules. Here's the listen. Every time in between breaks, you'll get a little bit, but you are up dancing. You are up jumping. You are up screaming. You are up constantly. Unless Wayne Brady is talking or talking to someone specifically, you are active. You are on all the time. Wow. And they say even after you get on the show, if you get on it, you have to continue that. Because the worst part, then you're just like, okay, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to go to bed. Nope, you got to remain up and static because in all reality, they could cut you out at any time too.
Yeah.
Like there's still plenty of editing to go on. So all of a sudden we're going through and I'm like, okay, we've gone through about 4 or 5 people now. Like there's not much more to be had. After watching the show, there's so many games that are played. And then obviously you do the big deal at the end. I'm like, there's only so many more opportunities that are going to happen. And then all of a sudden he goes, I'm looking for 2 friends. And we raise our hands. And I'm like, this is us, honey.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it was just like, oh, you 2 right there. Perfect. The funniest part though, so you would love to think like, so they pick your name is based off of what your driver's license says.
Okay.
My name obviously is very easy. I go by Nik, but I was like, okay, I'll put Nikki. No, they make me write Nicole. To me, no big deal.
Right.
Well, my girlfriend's name, short, is Fatima.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
I don't even know how to say her real name. Fatima Hada.
Yeah.
That's about what it sounds like. So
Right.
she gets up there, and of course, Wayne tries to say it, and he just looked, and he was like, So she like takes the mic and I think she offended. There were a couple of times like she's got a strong personality. It was the funniest thing ever. But she just literally cut Wayne off. She's like, "I'll help you." That's not in the recording of the show. That was put publicly because we were like, "What if they do that?"
Yeah.
So I don't think she even had her name said at all once on the show at that point. So he calls us up, and it was just. I think if I look back, you can literally see the oil on my face from just like the sweat and the shine, and I'm just standing there like, what happened? But I do remember looking over at Wayne saying, can I hug you? Like that was the one thing that I'm like, before we start anything that we're doing or any games that we're playing, like, please let me hug you. So he goes, okay. So the 3 of us get in a group and we all just start like doing like the jumping and the hugging. Like, oh my God, I'm touching my Brady. Oh my God, I'm touching my Brady. Like, oh crap, this is the craziest thing. And then he's like, okay, we got to start filming. Like, we have stuff to do. I'm like, okay. So then it goes into the story of how did you guys meet? Well, because we had to play with our occupations and where we're from and certain things, it turned into the funniest story of I'm her bridesmaid. I met her on vacation. We were out drinking tequila at a bar. We were drunk on the beach. We were all these things. And then we stood there and realized, oh, this is a family show.
Right.
But we were so excited and so nervous and so like we looked at each other and we're like, we're lying to Wayne Brady on national television right now. Like you could like the eyes were communicating to each other like, what do we say?
Yeah.
How do you even say anything to like I don't
Just
know
kidding.
what to do. Right. Oh my gosh, we felt so goofy at that point.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, so then we're like, let's move on. No big deal. And they bring out the game. And of course, the typical getting married is something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue.
Right.
Okay. So it was a whole game where we had a team up. I think we were the only ones that were like a paired up, that there was no one else from my recollection. There might have, I think we were the only double team. So it was meant to truly be like a 2-person game.
Right.
So we had to pick from the boxes. It was literally, at this point, it was a random guessing game because you have to start somewhere with it to get it going. And so Fatima being the bride, I was like, you pick first. So there's something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. And so as we're going through, I should have almost watched the episode again before, but she picks one thing and it ends up being a flop. So then I get to pick another. So it's literally the game of elimination.
Oh, okay.
So now what it was is in there, out of the 4 options, there are 2 things that are duds, and then there's 2 things that are obviously worth it.
Right.
So the blue, I remember, was like a blue Vespa. So that was good. Something old was, oh my God, her reaction was so funny. They made it look like high heels, but they were moldy moss and cheese is what they did for something old. So it opens and her reaction, she was like, seriously, that's disgusting. And I'm like, did you just insult them? Like, do you not understand the game? That's how this goes. They give you a dud. Like, that's the whole point. So it was just really funny because like afterwards we were just like, I think you might have like, hopefully they cut that out.
Right.
She's a little abrasive. And so then it turned. And so what we realized, so there's one box. So now Fatima had actually chosen both of the duds.
Okay.
The blue Vespa was the other. So after watching the psychology of the show, realizing there's so many other things, they've played this exact same game just with a different name and a different spin on it.
Yeah.
Right.
the last one has to be a deal.
Right.
The last one's got to be something really good.
Right.
And usually when they do something like this, they always put in a trip. So there's always a decent ticket priced item.
Mhm.
There's always a trip. And then, of course, there's going to be the two things that are duds because
Right.
there's more likely that you're going to lose out. So then the whole question was, Wayne Brady was like, do you want to make a deal or do you want to open this? What do you think? So
Mhm.
watching the psychology of it, and I'm like, well, I already know the answer. I was like, I know this has to be a trip, especially because they'd only given away like one other trip so far.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was understanding that there's a couple that they give away.
Yeah.
And then knowing in the big finale, there will be a car, there
Mhm.
will be other big things, there will be certain stuff. And so understanding that side of it. So I was like, and then it started with like, do you want $1,000?
Mhm.
Nope. Do you want $2,000? Nope. Do you want X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, I know, like in my gut,
Mhm.
this is a trip. Like,
Right.
I gotta see. So of course, something new. And I said, I want something new. I want to pick the box.
Right.
Opens the box. It's a trip to New York
Yeah.
in Times Square. So I was like, woohoo.
Yeah.
So it was one of those. So we got really excited. It was a trip for two that we
Mhm.
could pick to hotel and airfare. It was all taken care of.
Yeah.
And then a stay right there in Times Square for a couple days, which
Yeah.
was
Very cool.
absolutely amazing. So
Yeah.
that was like the big woohoo. And then it was one of those, he's like, oh, see, aren't you glad that you didn't take the money in X,
Mhm.
Y, and Z?
Mhm.
Really glad I didn't. So that was kind of like our little, okay, now go sit back down and
Mhm.
go hang out. So it was really overwhelming but exciting. But at the same time, I was like, well, I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So
I
it kind
know
of
your game.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. I was like, well, the trip is really cool, but I'm like, I'm just excited I got on TV. Like,
Yeah.
I think more than anything else at that point.
Mhm.
Which was really fun. And then of course, at the end of the show, they come back around and they go, there were 3 of us. There was one woman who actually, she had been trying to get engaged or they were working on it. They didn't have a ring, X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
She won a ring on
There you go.
it. So I think she ended up keeping the ring, which was really cool. There was another girl who got on it. Her fiance couldn't be there, but his like parents and everybody, they were all dressed up in dresses. It was
Yeah.
really neat. She ended up trading for the cash
Mhm.
in the bigger deal. And then for me, it was one of those where I could pick at the end, they always have like the 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Here's usually one is always a car. The other one was like a surfboard and other crazy stuff. And then I forgot what the last one was. And the option on there was really fast. Like, do you want to trade this up for what could be behind one of these doors? And I'm
Mhm.
like, so here's the other part is I knew had I won the first round,
Mhm.
I also knew that there was always going to be 9 times out of 10 a car in that third traded up,
Right.
like do the big deal or not. Well, with that, so I spent a lot of time thinking prior ahead of time as well of if I were to win all of these things or if I were to do a trade up,
Mhm.
what would the actual value of that be or what would that look like in the long run? Because what happens is so many people get on these shows. So many people win something, but they don't realize that you are now taxed on it. You are now
Yep.
responsible for it. You are now,
Yeah.
you have to take part in this. It's not like it's not like your parents when you're 16 years old bought you a car. It is it's a corporation that is gifting you something. However, again, now I have to buy insurance. Now there would be this. There would be so many things that tie into it that I'm like, a 3-day trip. I know what this costs. I'll pay the taxes on this. It's
Right.
not that big of a deal
Yep.
in my mind. But
Mhm.
I'm like, a car, I'm like, realistically, I'd have to deal with all the legalities of it
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
and then ultimately try to get rid of it and hope I at least make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
I got a friend who went on Price is Right, and they had to deal with all that. They had to like check you out ahead of time just to make sure you could handle the prize taxes and all that sort of stuff.
See?
from
Yeah.
what-
They vetted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting because they
Yeah.
don't do that on this one.
Yeah.
But the reason that they don't is because they work, and that's where understanding the psychology of it and watching so much of it
Mhm.
was that they really target people that are going to take the deal so that they're going to target people. That's why he tried so hard to say, do you want the 1,000? It was a lot easier to give me $1,000, tax me on that,
Mhm.
send it to me in 90 days than it
Right.
was to actually pay for a trip
Yeah.
and then
Right.
tax
Oh,
me
yeah.
on that.
Sure.
So they really push that. And so that goes back to the psychology of how they pick the people and who they pick with the background
Mhm.
because they're looking for people
Yeah.
that will take that
They'll
deal.
just be
Makes sense,
impulsive.
So
yeah.
literally it's like,
Yeah.
let's make a deal. Oh,
Yeah.
and what they do, it's so funny because he holds the cash in front of you.
Oh, yeah,
He
it's
literally is
right
like,
here.
it's right
Yeah.
here. And then you go back in the room and you sign your paperwork and it's like, you'll receive a check in 90 days.
Like, really?
Why did I come on for cash? Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
the funniest thing. Because my
Yeah.
girlfriend then, for participating,
Mhm.
Mhm.
even though I was the one that won, She got, I think it was like $90 or $100.
Yeah.
She's like, seriously, keep your money. Like, I don't even want to get taxed on this at this point.
Yeah,
This is just
reporting,
silly.
yeah.
Literally, because they
That's so
take you, they give you a specific pass after you win, and then they take you to a back room,
Mhm.
and you are locked in there.
Right.
Like, you do not get to leave until they go through everybody. And I think because I had the highest priced ticket item
Mhm.
on the show, I was the last one, or I just got stuck in the order of just like, oh, for real.
More
So
waiting.
not only,
Yeah.
like an hour
Yeah.
sitting in this room. You still don't have your cell phones. You have no communication because they take all of it away. So
Yeah.
you can't even, I'm like, there's no contact to the outside world.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want food. I want some tequila and I want my bed. I'm like, screw my trip to New York.
And let me guess, you're probably heading a pretty hard sugar crash at this
Oh,
moment too.
Oh, yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
So bad. Like, versions of hangry were
Yeah.
also hitting in because you're like, we ate in the car
Mhm.
before we came up, but this is like 10 o'clock now. It's getting closer to 7, 8 o'clock at night at
Yeah.
this point where we're just like, okay. And you're
Yeah.
sweating and you're up and down and you're exhausted and the highs and lows and doing that. Well,
Yeah.
needless to say, it was one of those like, okay, fine. I didn't even know when the show was going to air. That was the best part. They kind of give you an idea. They say in about 6 months.
Mhm.
Once the show airs, then they can contact you to
Mhm.
get your prize, to receive whatever it is. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting at work, and my girlfriend, all of a sudden, I get tagged in a post on Facebook. She goes, "Is this my friend on Let's Make a Deal?" And there's a picture of me going,
maybe.
"Hmm,"
Yeah.
like in a big sombrero, and I'm like, "Oh, Laura, you did not pause your TV to do that." So then, of course, because I missed the show, I went back on my computer that night, and I
Right.
just scoured through everything,
Oh,
like
sure.
trying to find the episode and do that. So I'm like, I have the video recording on my phone. Like, I tried to hold it as still as I possibly could be,
Yeah.
like sitting there just waiting to watch it. So the only recording, because they tell you, they're like, we don't give it to you. You can't buy it. You
Right.
just have to watch it
Yeah.
and hope you have something to record it with. And I
Right.
was like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
That's not cool. So it's on my phone. That's like the only place that I have
Yeah.
it from being recorded off
Mhm.
of a computer. But I'm
Yeah.
like, it's a lifetime memory that'll
Sure.
be
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. So they contacted us and they gave us a couple dates to pick with. Fatima and I are both insanely busy women, but we finally landed on a date. But they were like, you can't have holidays, you can't do these blackout dates, you can't do this. It's got to be X, Y, and
It's like
Z. It's
using
got to be
Sky
that. And
Miles.
I'm
Yeah.
like, who has time for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay. The only time that happened to work was actually, what's the day? This is perfect timing. We're filming this.
Okay.
At this time last year, we were in New York.
Oh, there we go.
awesome.
Happy
Is it-
anniversary.
Is it right? Sorry, it's our anniversary. I need to text her and be like, oh my God. So we went in March.
Mhm.
Fatima grew up in California. So it's really funny that we were talking about
Yeah.
the first snow.
Right.
Yeah.
She's seen snow because she's gone back to back home. She's Persian. She's done that. But it was something different, like kind of just exploring the weekend together. But so we had a great hotel in New York. We stayed at the Belvedere.
Mhm.
They took great care of us. I mean, our flight, it was a direct flight there. So it was awesome. It was easy. Trying to get a ride from New York, from the airport to our hotel there, that was like a nightmare. I think we ran around that airport a million
yeah.
times. We went on back and forth on the wrong trains, and the wrong trolleys, and the wrong this. And we're like, we just got here.
Yeah.
We want to go home. So the first night was great. Of course, being from Southern California, we're both like, this is cold.
Yeah.
This is not fun.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, what do you do? Well, I'm from Wisconsin, so we just drink.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we
Right.
spend our time.
Yeah.
So that's how Fatima and I spent our 3 days in New York with sleeting snow coming at us
Oh,
sideways,
yeah.
soaking wet. I left everything in Wisconsin because never did
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'd be traveling somewhere with snow.
Yeah.
And if it was, it'd be back home.
And it was
So
waiting for you.
that's where all my stuff is. I
Totally
left all the
understand.
big stuff.
Yeah.
My mom literally,
Yeah.
she'll pick me up from the airport and she's like, here's your big coat, here's your hat, here's your glove. Like, it's hand delivered to me.
My stuff is in my parents' basement.
Right.
Yeah, we
Exactly.
don't need
It's
it. Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, not New York. So we get there. I'm like, oh, my Lanta. Like, it got to the point where we'd have to like go back and take hot showers just to warm up. Or like at this point, we're like, it's 11 o'clock. Is an Irish beer, is it too early to have like a heavy stout just to
Right.
warm up as
Right.
it's like sideways going choo, 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 outside the bar? And we're like, we don't feel like walking. We don't feel like taking a cab. Like, those cab drivers are insanely
Yeah.
scary. Cannot stand them. And so, but it was such a blast. We went into Central Park. We got to do all of these things. But I giggle because they inflate the prices or the quote of the
Yeah.
prices.
Make it sound
I
like
was
really
like,
awesome.
a 3-day stay at the Belvedere,
Mhm.
and then the flights there and back. I mean, round trip. Okay, so our flights maybe for us in March on literally, I think we went on like a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, got
Yeah.
back on a Saturday afternoon. Could have been $1,000 for the both of us
Right.
round trip.
Right.
Mhm.
Hotel, a couple stay, maybe another $1,000 for
Right.
Mhm.
3 nights there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they were like, it's a $5,595 trip or some bullshit. I was like,
no.
no, but I guess I'll pay the taxes on that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, here we go.
Yep.
But it was such a blast. So it was so surreal
Mhm.
that like, because there was part of me that I'm like, there's no way that this is actually happening or
Mhm.
could happen, or that people win trips and can actually go on
Yeah.
them, and that because you're like, okay, well the show's gonna air, like let's see if they actually reach out to me. So for it airing in December at the beginning, and then to be by the beginning of March to be in New York with one of my best girlfriends, like
Yeah.
just having a girls trip, going to the different museums, going shopping, spending
Mhm.
all that time, all from dressing up in some ponchos and sombreros in the middle of the
Mhm.
summer,
Yeah.
and driving up to LA was very fun. But spending that time at least researching how to do and get on that
Mhm.
was a pretty cool thing, because once you understood it, it was so simple to be like, oh, I can manipulate them, I can make sure I get on this. It's not a problem at all.
I love that story. I just
Yeah.
love, the focus that was at the beginning, to
Yes.
get all of that, to be hyper focused, do your research,
Mhm.
go in prepared, but
Mhm.
then be ready to like go through the hoops,
Yes.
and like wait it out and not like, yeah.
I
And-
was not expecting the day to be what it was. I was
Right.
like, because I'm one of those people. I'm like, all right, you want to go? Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do this. We're
Yep.
execution. Like, let's get this done. All
Yeah.
right.
Hurry up and wait.
Flexibility is
Right.
not always fun.
Yeah.
No, it's not what, because I
Yeah.
had a mission. My
Right,
mission was to
right,
get on
right.
the show and to win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, by the time I actually got on the show,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm too fucking tired to be on the show right now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that way, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's a lot of work.
So one of the things we do is we take a selfie for our Instagram that
Oh,
gets
yeah.
posted while we are recording. So
Yeah.
we're going to do
I'm
that real
super down
quick
for
so
that.
everybody gets it. Jeremiah is here in studio, my
Hey.
PA
Woohoo!
and assistant editor. So he can take it for us, so we're not going to have to reach too bad. So I guess
Yeah.
it's a Eufy,
I
not
love
a
it. It's
selfie.
a Eufy.
So there we are, getting that done.
Great.
Love
Thanks,
it.
sir.
So Ben will be tagging that up while
Yeah.
I kind of bring it back around.
Well, I did
here.
a little boomerang of you
Good.
guys all read, like, and I
Oh,
had like the
fun.
microphone in this,
Yeah.
and tagged you guys my location.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is our fun little new studio
I
that we're going to
know
have a lot of fun
it.
in.
Yeah.
Okay, one thing you get to do,
Oh, yes.
that this is our
Don't
fun
forget
little
this part.
ending,
Yes.
is you get to do a shameless plug for whatever you want. Like it could be a new
Ooh.
dog food you love, it could be your personal brand, whatever.
Ooh.
This is your open mic to give a shout out, whatever.
Yep.
All right. The biggest plug I have to do, and this is actually my driving force that's always behind me, it's our
Mhm.
brand Epic Mastermind Experience.
Okay.
And so we have, because I don't know when this will fully be public, but we have a large event every year. It's
Mhm.
always hosted in January. It's a 3-day event is kind
Mhm.
of how it started.
Yeah.
From doing a meetup. It was 10
Right.
people sitting around doing their mastermind, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then it grew into, we have so much more to give back and so much more to do.
Yeah.
So now we have thought leaders from all over the world fly in on
Mhm.
their own dime, donate their time, spend their time on stage, networking, speaking over the 3 days, that
Yeah.
we just cultivate this atmosphere and this energy, which is really cool. So that always happens in January, and our
Mhm.
brand is Epic Mastermind Experience, because it
Okay.
truly is an experience. But what we've done for people, because I know it was really cool that you guys talk about the meetups, is I've just launched our new meetup series, which is every second Monday of the month, which
Okay.
is really cool, from 6 to 9 p.m. in downtown San Diego.
Yeah.
So it's literally, you can go to our page Epic Mastermind Experience on Facebook, and then
Mhm.
you'll find always the event link,
Mhm.
which is really great to it. So, but it's truly about that same thing like we talked about.
Yeah.
Is I bring in one featured speaker
Mhm.
that is really going to add golden nuggets, drop value,
Yeah.
help you figure out little things, whether you need to implement something in your personal and business. So
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
In your business
hybrid.
life, exactly, or your personal life, it really, however you choose to receive that message from
Right.
that
Mhm.
featured speaker. But it's almost a teaser series of what we do on the big end. So it's
Right.
really neat in that aspect. So obviously next Monday
Yeah.
it's coming up March 11th is our next one. And
Okay,
then
so
on
like
and
really, really soon.
very
Right.
soon.
Well, this
Yeah.
will air next Monday, so it will be just
The day of, yeah.
before.
Perfect, the day
Yeah,
of.
so
Yeah,
it'll
if
go
it
live
airs
next
on
Monday morning.
So
Sure.
Monday night, if you guys have nothing to do
Yeah.
tonight,
Yeah.
come on down. It's downtown San Diego. This one will be held at the Vantage Point Apartments,
Okay.
right there, which is absolutely great, and it's absolutely free.
Mhm.
So it's there. We have it set up to do networking. We have it set up to do icebreakers. We have featured speakers that are going to give and add value to
Yeah.
help you wherever you're at. And then again, there's more open networking, which is really great.
Cool.
Because then you get that opportunity to meet people like you guys and vice versa,
Yeah.
where you can continue to grow your business and add value and collaborate on really cool things. And that's what I love, is creating that energy in that
Yeah.
space, which is cool. So that's our really fun
Yeah.
series that we just launched. So that's not just this Monday. Like I said, it's every second Monday of the month that we'll be
Yeah.
hosting throughout the year,
Cool.
with different cool speakers. I've got actually in April, I've got the owner of Life Aid Bevco coming
Yeah.
in. So if you guys have ever heard of Fit Aid, Life Aid,
Yep.
Party Aid, all of that,
Yeah.
Aaron is one of our best friends.
Mhm.
So he's coming in. He goes, I want to come teach people. He's like, not like 9-figure business.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah,
I'll come
please.
teach people
Yeah.
how to build a brick and mortar. Like,
Yeah.
I've done it. He's
Yeah.
a former chiropractor. The month after that, we've got Jamel, who is the CEO and founder of Organifi. So I'll say a
I know who that is too,
$150
yeah.
million
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
For doing that. One of our best friends is going to come in, same thing, and teach. So we're really bringing in high level people
Right.
that are going to help teach, train, coach you guys in any way and just add value, which is really neat.
That's awesome.
For a lot of people.
And I'll tag both of their businesses too.
Yeah, we'll
So,
have all of
yeah.
this linked in
Yeah.
the description. I
Perfect.
say we. It has been doing.
I'll do that. I do that.
Edit.
It's such hard work.
He writes,
Copy,
How
paste.
dare.
he
Yeah.
writes copies, descriptions,
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
that stuff. So I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. And
Yes.
I'm going to do our YouTube ending real quick. And
Yeah.
that if you have enjoyed this, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, as well as hit that notification button so you can know when new episodes come up
Ring the
live.
bell.
And if you're listening to us on the podcast platforms, please be sure to give us a rating and let us know that you liked it. If you didn't like it, please just be quiet.
Then put that on somebody else's show. Put that on somebody else's show.
As well as, share this around so that other people, somebody who might be interested, that they can know that we're out here talking and sharing great business advice.
And reach out to Wayne Brady and tell him that you heard about him.
Yes.
At
And how
BetaHaus.
buttery smooth he is.
That's
I
right.
think that's like the word.
I did. Like after that, like I was doing like I should like share my Instagram stories with you guys
Yeah.
too to put with this, but it was that same thing. I was like, thanks, Wayne Brady. I'm like, you're just so smooth.
We'll link everything we
Seriously.
can find from Wayne Brady down below too. So.
Right?
And we will see you
Yeah.
next
Put me
week.
back on your
Yep.
show, Wayne. What else are you doing?
Bye.
Bye.